the keys are to the glory days at the stick. From who's got it better than us to brick by brick. It's always the 49ers way, from off-season to game day. Yeah, we talk back. It's the 49ers cutback.
It's 49ers Cutback Podcast time. Welcome to the show. Live Q&A. Here we go. I'm excited about this one. I see that things are already going down in chat. What is up, everyone? I hope you guys are all having a really, really good day as chat fills up with people saying, what's up? People asking questions. How's it going? Spy Nick Danger, 49ers Fogies, which is Gary. How's it going, Gary? Hope you're having a good one. Lots of it going down here. Donald Johnson, what's up? How's it going? It's really good. And what's up, 49ers faithful? Hope you're having a good day. This is gonna be a fun episode. You guys are gonna drive it, of course, just like always. You ask the questions, we'll go through these questions, and we'll just have a fun 49ers conversation. I think this is gonna be one of those episodes I've been really looking forward to all week. Haven't got to talk to you guys very much yet. But definitely looking forward to having this conversation with you. SG says, what are your top 5 keys to victory if the 49ers want to get over the LA Chargers at Levi's Stadium? What's up, Scott Hill? Welcome to chat. I think when it comes down to it, your keys for beating the Chargers aren't different than they would be any other week. Number one, you need to be efficient on third down. You need to not turn over the football. You need to stop the Chargers' run game. You need to confuse and get after Justin Herbert. And you need to execute on offense and defense. And I think if you do those 5 things, you're going to win football games. And you're going to win a lot of games in this league if you're able to execute those kinds of things. Third down efficiency, not turning over the football, and also your defense getting off the field on third down are so pivotal to winning games in the NFL. The 49ers did that really good against the Los Angeles Rams. If they can do that against the Chargers, they're going to win the football game. They're a very talented football team. The Chargers dealing with a little bit of injuries, of course. Mike Williams probably out. It looks like they're going to be without Keenan Allen as well. So 2 big-time wide receiver targets for Justin Herbert are probably going to be out. And I think that is going to be a struggle for them. So just like always, because it's Thursday, it's Q&A. Fill up that chat with any questions that you have, and we'll just have a fun conversation about it. I'll do my best to get to every question that's there. And let's just have some fun. I'm really looking forward to this. There hasn't been a whole lot of news recently. The article I was most recent reading was about Steve Young kind of comparing and contrasting Christian McCaffrey to Ricky Watters. I thought it was an interesting read overall. Just the things he said on KMBR, it was interesting, and it was something that we actually talked about a little bit, last week about overall McCaffrey, attributing him to what Ricky Watters did and what he added to the offense. I think it's the easiest comparison because you had Mike Shanahan that was with the 49ers when they had Ricky Watters for that 1994 Super Bowl. So to me, that one made a lot of sense, and that is the same sort of thing that's going on there. Is Steve Young's having those same sort of vibes, but he was talking about Ricky Watters was bigger, looked a little bit more fluid, where Christian McCaffrey, to me, is more explosive with short area quickness. Intelligence is off the charts, but both of the things that they're going to be able to add to the offense, running the football and catching the ball in the backfield, I think are very dynamic. So I liked overall the comparison, and of course, it was brought up to me. I believe Donald was the one that brought it up to me in the comments about Roger Craig. You don't want to forget Craig's ability to do things in the offense, too, catching the football, running. The 49ers have been known for these kind of running backs. Christian McCaffrey is just the next wave of those. You use the LaDainian Tomlinson, Roger Craig, Marshall Faulk, a special kind of running back, and that's exactly what the 49ers need. And what's up, Gary? Hope you're having a good day. I hope you're doing good. Spiting Danger says, and if defensive tackle and corner and O-line continue to be the 49ers' weaknesses, can we sign players to fix them? Yeah, I mean, you have opportunities to sign players whenever. And the question is, can you find players to do that? Now, we know defensive tackle we've talked about a lot over the last several weeks, including I put out a video this week about Ndamukong Suh. He's available. I mean, so there are defensive players out there and defensive linemen available. Cornerback, it's a little bit more shaky. There's not guys really out there you could sign and play that could start and play better than Deommodore Lenoir. They're really kind of just held back by, the ability to bring a player in that can compete and play at a higher level than the guys you currently have. That's why I was kind of pitching maybe they were going to trade for someone, or maybe they just know that Deommodore Lenoir is going to be able to hold up, or that Jason Verrett's going to get ready. But yeah, there's not very many options. And then as far as offensive line, there's just not very many options out there. The comments that Chris Forster had about Daniel Brunskill a few weeks ago was it was a stretch for Brunskill to play center. So I think that that's one thing you got to remember is that, when it comes to Brunskill, he's probably not going to play center. They're probably going to rock with Brendel. I think this is what we got. This is the rotation we're going to give. Brunskill, Burford are going to rotate. Banks is going to continue to play left guard. And then you're rolling with those tackles. This is just kind of how they see this team going. And what's up, Scott? Scott says, Ant, will our defense improve to what we had early in the season? I think it's going to get better. I don't know if it's ever going to get back to that level. I think a lot of that hinges on Jason Verrett. If Jason Verrett is able to go back to his 2022 or 2020 capabilities in 2022, then he can play up to Emmanuel Mosley standards. And Mosley was doing a pretty good job, about a 70% grade on PFF, which isn't bad. I think if Jason Verrett can play to that level, it will free up Hufanga and a lot of the other defensive players to be able to make some big-time plays for this defense. And then I think they can get back to that. But I think it is a little bit of a step down from Emmanuel Mosley to Deommodore Lenoir. And with that, you have to kind of play defense differently. You have to give him help at times with safeties. You have to run some bracket coverage. There's just different things you have to do. So I think that hinges on Jason Verrett. It hinges on Eric Armstead being able to get out there and play defensive tackle, because if you can get that force back in there and stop the run on early downs and then present a third and long pass rush situations, then this 49ers defense can go back to being elite. But they're going to need either guys to step up or guys to get healthy. And that's the only way they can get back to that level again. What's up, Ty? How's it going? You rock as well. So always good to have people coming through chat. Really appreciate it. Traffic says, what up, TCC? Hope everyone's having a good day. I'm hoping you're having a good day as well. Traffic, welcome to chat. Spidey continues says, Ant, we beat Seattle once this season. Any reason we can't do it again? No, there's no reason we can't do it again. I really do believe the 49ers can beat everyone within this division. They're going to have two big matchups against the Cardinals. Of course, one in Mexico City on November 21st on Monday Night Football. That'll be a fun, exciting game. And then they're going to have 1-2 in the season against the Cardinals. So the last 3 weeks of the season, they go Seattle, Raiders, and then Cardinals. So it's going to be a pivotal stretch for the Niners. But they can beat the Seattle Seahawks. They need to stop the run. That's one thing Seattle's gotten going recently. They've been able to run the football. They've been able to play some pretty timely defense, and Geno Smith has been accurate when asked to do so. So the 49ers need to make sure they go in there in that game when they play Seattle to stop the run. And as long as they're able to stop the run, they're going to be able to defeat the Seattle Seahawks. The Seahawks don't have the same weapons. Geno's not built the same way to take things, make things happen like Russell Wilson. So that magic is kind of gone. And I'm hoping that the 49ers offense is going to continue to roll at such a high rate that they're going to start making it very difficult for these other teams. These other teams are going to have to be like, wow, we have to score in every possession to be able to keep up with the 49ers. But we'll see. I do think they can win the division, though. David V says, Kittle, Debo, CMC, Juice, Ayuk, what you going to do when the 49ers run wild on you? I love the Hulk Hogan. Listen here, brother. What you gonna do? I love it. Fantastic, David V. I love that. Gary says Brunskill is the best backup O-lineman in the NFL. I think it feels nice having Brunskill within the offense, and the fact they keep working him in. We have him in case something happens with McGlinchey to play right tackle. He can play both guard spots. Of course, he could play center in a pinch as well. So yeah, it's nice having him. And Gary says, bad boys. What you gonna do? What you gonna do when they come for you? SG says, what's your offensive and defensive MVP for the San Francisco 49ers? I think the defensive MVP right now has to be Nick Bosa. He's 8 sacks. He's been tearing it up. When he's out there, he's a difference maker. I think that one's pretty easy. I think there has been very good defensive performers. Talanoa Hufanga can be listed up there really close to what Bosa has done. And then on the offensive side of the ball, as far as MVP goes, it's a little bit more difficult because Brandon Ayuk's played well, Kittle's played well. I don't think anyone's really stepped up as an MVP. I could easily give it to CMC since he played 2 games in the second game. He really did a great job against the Rams. I don't know if there's a clear-cut offensive MVP for the 49ers right now, but defensively, I think it's Bosa, followed closely by Noah Hufanga. And Jag comes through with a $2 super chat. Says, at TCC, is Mitchell going to start? Not TDP, Mason. I don't think Mitchell's going to start. Christian McCaffrey's going to start, and then I think Mitchell will be the next guy in. I look for Mitchell to still be a part of the game plan, but I think you're not going to see TDP or Mason besides special teams. You're going to see a lot of CMC. You're going to see some Elijah Mitchell, and then the rest of those guys are probably not going to get very many reps. They're going to go with the two-man rotation for this running back room, and then they'll sprinkle in a little bit of Debo here and there, but I think that, with those two guys, those are two legit, first overall, caliber player. I'm sorry, number one overall running back caliber players. Fantastic. So I think that those are going to be the two guys going. And Elijah Mitchell had himself one heck of a training camp. He looked great. He would have been having a huge year if he wasn't hurt. Hopefully the limited reps will help him stay healthy, and hopefully him taking some of the reps from Christian McCaffrey will keep him healthy as well. Both those guys will kind of work in tandem, to keep people healthy. So I'm enjoying that. Fighting Danger says, Ant, after watching the Chiefs screen us to death, how would D'Amico not be prepared to see the Rams do the same? I think that he just thought he was going to be able to put pressure on Stafford, and I think he thought maybe McVay would hit them with a couple. So a lot of times when you're going into game planning, you see things that teams do against you, and you realize that other teams could try to take advantage of that. But sometimes what you do is you look at it and you're like, okay, they saw it work, so they're going to figure that we're going to cover for it, so they're not going to do it. So sometimes you kind of outsmart yourself or talk yourself out of certain types of things like that. And I think that's what happened. I think, he went into the game and he felt like, what? They saw us get screened. They're going to figure we're going to work on the screen. We're going to work on the jet sweep, and we're going to make sure we take those things away. So they're going to go a different avenue. So he thought, we'll just go put pressure on them, and that'll help negate whatever they're trying to do. But I think that's what happened. But you're right. I mean, you got to be prepared in case, a team comes out and screens you to death, which they pretty much did. And thanks so much, Jay Ellie, for re-upping your membership. It says, Ant, holding it down, still waiting for that center and D tackle move. Yeah, I mean, so far, I don't think we're going to get a center move. I really don't. I don't think they're going to make a move for a center. I don't think that anyone's going to be available, JLE. I think that's one of the things that's, we're kind of locked into. I kept hoping, maybe Alex Mack would come out of nowhere. But besides that, we don't really have anyone, that's going to do it. And 49ers Faithful says Brendel stinks. And that's the thing but who are they going to go with? I don't know. At some point, Nick Zakelj will be ready. Will that be the end of this year? Will that be next year? I tend to think it's going to be next year. So we'll see. But I love that comment, by the way. SG says, hey, Ant, are we still going to San Francisco 49ers versus New Orleans Saints post-game show on StreamYard? Yes, we are going to. Yeah, that's what we talked about on email, so we'll be doing that. Fighting Danger said, Ant, do you think the 49ers will go right back to Lance as quarterback one next season? I do. I think they're going to go back to Trey Lance. They paid so much. They invested so much in him that I think they're going to want to go back to Trey. I think it could make it a lot more difficult if the 49ers win the Super Bowl this year, which I want them to win the Super Bowl. I mean, turning away from a Super Bowl, champion quarterback as Jimmy Garoppolo would make it difficult. Not completely, it wouldn't be a wrong decision, but it would make it very difficult for the 49ers to do so. But I hope we have that issue. I hope we have that problem to worry about. I want to see the 49ers win a Super Bowl. And if that's the case and they have to make a decision between Jimmy and Trey at that point, we'll worry about that after. Let's get that ring first. But I think right now, barring something like that, I think, it's going to be Trey Lance as a starting quarterback next year. Donald says, I believe we can beat the Seahawks, but they always seem to play the Niners hard. I hope they do, and they believe they can. Yeah, and it's in Seattle. So, I mean, it's not like it's a cupcake game. Anytime you go up to CenturyLink, it's a difficult matchup against the Seahawks. The 49ers have walked with victories there, but it has been slim pickings, and the 49ers will have to go out there and execute at a high level. But I think they can do it. I think they really can. I think this is a good defense. I think the offense is going to continue to get better. I'm hoping by the time they play the Seahawks, they'll be rolling on all cylinders and really be able to do some things. Travis says, I don't know about who our MVP is, but I know Bosa deserves all the praise. Parsons has been getting, but since he's not a Cowboy, he won't. Yeah, I mean, Bosa deserves a lot of praise, and Bosa's fantastic. So I think he's going to continue to get some of that recognition, but unless he goes on a just blistering pace, he's not going to get the same sort of attention that, Parsons is going to get. For whatever reason, he's not a media darling. So, yeah, I think Bosa flies under the radar a little bit more than that. David V says, quick release and checkdowns for Jimmy. It seems to be the way to go to win football games. And right now he did that at a high level. 84% completion percentage was fantastic. Jimmy Garoppolo had 2 questionable passes. Everything else was spot on. So I'll take that rating right now. That's really good for what Jimmy can do for this offense, especially with a really good defense. SG, hey, Ant, are we still doing this? I think I answered that. You said it again, but I believe I answered it already. Gary says, what about a 3-backfield, CMC, Juice, Mitchell, or Debo? Why not? I mean, that's the thing, Gary. You can pretty much do whatever you want with personnel groupings. You can put guys wherever you want. So, yeah, why not? I mean, put it out there and see how a defense reacts to it. What personnel grouping are you going to get? It would be pretty wicked to see that. I would love it, and why not? Kyle Shanahan can continue to get creative, continue to do lots of things in the offense. Whatever he can scheme up. He's only limited by his own imagination, and I think that's good for this offense because anytime you can continue to diversify the offense, and keep defenses off balance, keep defense wondering what you're trying to do on offense, I think that's good signs for the 49ers. And they have so many diverse, talented players that they can use and put them in a variety of different situations. And Kyle can really look at his guys now, see which plays they're the most successful at, and then dial up certain personnel groupings to get matchups that help those players. I mean, if he can scheme up matchups to get Debo and Christian McCaffrey and George Kittle lined up on linebackers, that's what you want to do. Those are huge mismatches for the 49ers that they can take advantage of. And that's what Kyle's job is to go ahead and get those guys in the best situation to be successful. And I'm looking forward to it as well, SG. I think it's going to be a lot of fun. We'll be getting to that, and then that'll be good for sure. 49ers Faithful says BA is very sure-handed. He's been catching a lot of footballs this year. I think one of the things that, every once in a while he has a drop. I felt like most recently, the last couple of weeks, I felt like he's done a pretty good job of catching the football. He needs to continue to have sure hands. The 49ers are going to count on him. He's the wide receiver for the 49ers that can win man-to-man coverage. That is what Brandon Ayuk provides this 49ers offense, is a guy that can execute at a high level in one-on-one coverage, and they don't have very many of those guys. Kittle, he can win one-on-one versus a linebacker or safety, but I mean, overall, wide receiver-wise, Debo is not exactly a guy that goes out and wins consistently one-on-one, but he's dynamic with the ball in his hand. So they have kind of different strengths and weaknesses for each one of these 49ers wide receivers, and being able to use them in certain ways is what's going to make it pivotal for them. And while I have a quick chance here, I'm going to ask everyone that is watching if you could go ahead and like the video, subscribe if you haven't already, join the over 3,000 people that have been subscribed to the 49ers Cutback. I'd really appreciate it. And thank you guys so much for watching. And if you're watching and you haven't interacted yet, go ahead and jump in the chat, leave a question. I'll get to it. Even if you just want to leave an interaction, like say hello, I'll make sure to say hi as well. It'll be a lot of fun. Looking forward to having even more conversations. And SG says, what time should I schedule the 49ers for St. post-game show on StreamYard? I'm not sure. I don't exactly remember what time that game is. I can look it up. I can send you an email afterwards and kind of let you know, SG, what's going on. Because I always usually go off of that. And then it's a little bit, kind of like playing it close to the vest. You just kind of try to figure it out, like what's going to happen. 49ers Faithful says, need consistency on special teams. It's been bad. That is an area the 49ers need to improve. Me and Jay Hill did a grades episode where we went over the 49ers, offense, defense, special teams, coaching, front office, and graded them out. And I really had to give the special teams a D. They just haven't consistently played well. I thought lately Ray McCloud has come on. Ray's had some big returns, but the 49ers have had some gaffes. They've had blocked field goals. Their kick coverage hasn't been very good at times. So I think it'll help getting guys like Tarvarius Moore back. Him being out was bad. He's a gunner. I think overall, though, they added a lot of players in special teams that they were counting on, like George Odom, and like Ray McCloud, and those players were supposed to really help this special teams. And so far, the special teams hasn't lived up to expectation. The good news is there's 9 games left for them to be able to play up at a high level and help this football team win games. Complementary football is a real thing. I think it would be big if the special teams started playing at a high level. They did pretty good last week, so maybe they can stack and build upon that, because if they can get the special teams playing at a high level and the offense is already kicking up, it's going to be good for the Niners because they still have a top 5 defense in the league. So let's see. Spiting Danger says, Ant, is this group of 49ers offensive players' weapons the best since our Super Bowl teams? It's pretty darn good. I mean, it's hard to think about, a roster that's as talented as this. I mean, of course, the Super Bowl caliber teams, especially the 80s and middle 90s, when you had Rice and Taylor and Jones and, Craig, Rathman, or Waters and Floyd. I mean, those teams were spectacular, loaded talent-wise. I think skill player-wise, the Niners are getting to that level. McCaffrey's an all-pro caliber player. You have an all-pro tight end. You have an all-pro wide receiver in Deebo Samuel. You have a really good number 2 in Brandon Ayuk. You have an all-pro left tackle. You have an all-pro caliber fullback. I mean, they really do have weapons all over the place. I think the biggest difference between those teams in the 80s and the early 90s is the quarterback. Joe Montana was, he was all-world, not just all-pro. Steve Young was an all-pro consistently, 3-time MVP. He was a big-time player for the Niners, where Jimmy Garoppolo isn't to that level. Jimmy Garoppolo, I kind of attest more to like an Alex Smith, you know what I mean? So, but skill-wise, yeah, you have spectacular players all over. I don't think we have a Jerry Rice kind of player, but there's no Jerry Rice kind of players out there. They just don't exist, but you're right. This is one of the most talented skill players, as far as groups that I've seen in a very long time. Paul says, any word on which injured players will be back for the Chargers game? From everything that I've seen, Elijah Mitchell should be back. I think he's going to be back. Jawan Jennings, Deebo Samuel, my understanding is all of those guys will be back. Jason Verrett, I'm unsure on. I'm unsure on Eric Armstead. Kinlaw won't be back. Azeez Al-Shire won't be back. Just listening to what Kyle Shanahan said about him Azeez being 2 weeks, post Elijah Mitchell. So with Mitchell coming back, you got to think, maybe Cardinals, but probably the game after that for Azeez Al-Shire. Same sort of time for Colt McKivitz. He got hurt during the Denver game. So those are 6 to 8 week injuries. They're going to make sure they get these guys healthy. So I think that's kind of the avenue we're looking for those guys to come back. 49ers Fogey says, how about that Womack tackle? That was fantastic. He did such a good job as a gunner. He timed it perfectly. He got there. He had his eyes up, made a very good tackle. I loved it. And that's the thing. You need young guys to step up and make plays. And Womack's getting it done on the offensive side of the ball. So I was excited about that. So, that's good news for the 49ers. And I think that they got to continue to get better on special teams. But it's good to see a young player like Sam Womack, make a play like that. And you want to see that more. You want to see more guys making those plays as the season progresses, because special teams helped the 49ers win a playoff game last year. It could do that again this year. I mean, when you get into playoffs, every single thing is more heightened. Every single, the urgency is real. So you have to be able to compete on all 3 levels of offense, defense, and special teams. A flying Super Warner. I love that play, David V, of Warner flying over the top and hitting the offensive guy. That was fantastic. Jag says, is the fact that we are passing more just as simple as defenses dictating that they won't let us run? It is somewhat. So defenses, of course, last year especially, started loading up the box with, 8 to 10 guys. Pretty ridiculous. So you would think 10 guys in the box in the NFL, but yeah, they're loading up. And so what defenses are giving the 49ers, the Niners are taking. And so if you're going to play, play up with pressure, but then play soft on the outside, we're going to take that. And what the 49ers have been able to do is execute at a high level And the whole plan is to stay in front of the sticks. So if they're going to load the box and not allow you to run the ball and you'll get a consistent 4 or 5 yards, and you got to find another way. A pass for 5 or 6 on first down is just as good as a run play. So the 49ers are doing that right now. And they're able to execute, and using McCaffrey to motion and move pre-snap has presented some obstacles for defenses as far as where are they supposed to be, and also matchups. And staying in front of the sticks is important. So that's what the Niners have been doing. If defenses start playing off and giving favorable boxes to run the football, then the 49ers will start running the football again. They have 2 very talented backs now with Christian McCaffrey and Elijah Mitchell. So no matter who Jimmy Garoppolo turns to give the ball to, somebody can make a play for them. So I think that's good news moving forward. But that's exactly right. The defense helps dictate. A lot of times you want to dictate to the defense. But if a defense is going to overdo it and they're just going to dictate what you do, take advantage of what they give you. And as long as you're able to, you're going to be a hard offense to stop. 49ers Fogey says no injuries at the Lambs game. Yeah, there was none. And that was good news, right? Kyle Shanahan said he felt a little surprised. It felt a little awkward, but it's good news. 49ers Faithful says, according to Lombardi, 49ers are number 1 in DVOA passing offense. That is very fantastic. I did not know they were number 1 in DVOA in passing offense, but I mean, I think that's going to continue because Christian McCaffrey opens things up for a lot of players. I mean, he's going to make it easier on every one of those guys. And I mean, that's it. Whenever you add a weapon to your offense, it makes it easier on somebody else. One of the main things people always ask is, what about touches? You got to make sure you spread the ball around. Well, touches are going to be there. It's how exactly, it's picking your poison for a defense. Take away one guy, and another guy can beat you. And it's not that you say, oh, this is going to be a Debo game or this is going to be an Ayuk game. But if a defense comes in to take away Debo, everybody else is going to have opportunities to make plays. Then when they adjust, then you go back to Debo. If the defense adjusts during the game, great. If the defense doesn't, then you will have those kind of games. So as many weapons you can get, you get them, and then you allow those guys to go make plays for you. And that's what Jimmy was doing, getting the ball in their hands and letting them create. So I'm enjoying overall the offense, and I did not know they're number 1 in DVOA, but that makes a lot of sense. They've been pretty good. Big Papa Paul says stack boxes should leave the flats open, i.e. down outs or UK. Yeah, I mean, that's it, right? I think that, there a lot of the things that defenses try to do, leave things open. And Kyle Shanahan for a long time, his offense has been about, oh, that's fine if you want to load the box. I'll run play action. I'll get you to commit to the run, and I'll throw right behind you. What Christian McCaffrey and Elijah Mitchell are going to allow this offense to do also is stretch a defense horizontally with their outside run game. The outside zone game is going to be pivotal because it's going to move those linebackers, and they have to commit to the run. And Christian McCaffrey, right away, name recognition-wise, defense comes into the game knowing you have to stop McCaffrey or he can take you out. He can make big plays, and he can be a difference maker. Before you had the guy like that with Debo. But now you have a guy with Christian McCaffrey. So I think overall it is really good for the 49ers to continue to feed Christian McCaffrey. I mean, do you want to give him 26 touches in the game? Probably not. Take off about 6 and have him around 20. Elijah Mitchell around 10. How do you find all the connections for all these guys? I think it's going to be, fun to see how they distribute the football. But whatever the defense gives you, take. That was what made Joe Montana so successful is he didn't care who was getting the ball. He just made sure he was getting the ball out to one of his guys to make a play. And then as long as they rewarded him by making the catch, he kept feeding them the football if they were open. I think that's the way you go about it. Paul says, since Garoppolo take to go over. Yeah, I mean, Garoppolo right now has been very good, at least in the 1 week with Christian McCaffrey fully involved in the offense, about taking what was there. He threw it to Jeff Wilson Jr. out of the backfield. Christian McCaffrey, we've seen him do a little bit of a check down to Brandon Ayuk. They tried to fake a screen to Ayuk. The defense played it perfectly. He ended up coming back to Ayuk. So him taking what is there, it's important. So I really do enjoy what he was doing in the offense and what Kyle was dialing up for him. I think you just consistently do that, and you're going to be good. Ty says, don't sleep on Austin Eckler or Keenan Allen. Oh, I definitely wouldn't sleep on him. Austin Eckler is very good. You're going to have to make sure you go in there and do well. The problem with Keenan Allen, and I seen SG asking about Keenan Allen. Keenan Allen said this week on Twitter, I think it was yesterday, that he's not playing again until he's 100%. And the way he was making it sound is like he's not 100% right now. So he's played injured and he's continued to struggle with the injury. And now he's saying, hey, I'm not coming back until I'm fully healthy. So Keenan Allen might not be available against the 49ers, which would be a huge blow for the Chargers. They're going to be without Mike Williams as well. That's two big-time receivers for Justin Herbert that he's going to be without. That should make it a little bit easier for the 49ers offense, but you can never take, or I'm sorry, for 49ers defense, you can never take anything for granted. You have Justin Herbert. Justin Herbert is such a good quarterback. He can definitely make things happen. You bring up Eckler as well. Eckler's a force, and he's been playing very well this season. 49ers can't take anything for granted. They got to go out there and bust their butts to make sure they play very well against this team. And I think they understand how hard it is to get victories in the NFL, and they're going to put forth their best effort to make sure that they do it, because it hasn't been easy sledding for this 49ers team this year. They've lost some football games that they should have won. And I think that, they've got to continue to, do whatever they can to win. And one of the ways you're going to do it is by taking advantage of, other teams, somewhat of their weaknesses. So the 49ers are doing a pretty good job right now, but they got to continue to, elevate their game over the next several weeks. And, their schedule is pretty favorable. Overall, I like the 49ers schedule. I think they have an opportunity to win a lot of games. Of course, they have the Chargers this week. They're at home. That's good news. Then they're at the Cardinals, but that one's weird because it's in Mexico City. So it's not a legit away, Cardinals home game. It's a neutral site. I think there's going to be a lot of 49er fans there, but that's going to be a huge game. The 49ers are able to defeat the division rival Cardinals. That would mean they own at least one win over every single division opponent. Of course, one still over Seattle, and that'd be one over Arizona. That would be 4-0 in the division. That would be pretty hard for any of these other teams to be able to consistently beat the Niners. Of course, the big game of the Seahawks will come up, but then they've got they got the Saints coming to San Francisco. Will it be Jameis Winston? Will it be Andy Dalton? They just got the news they lost Michael Thomas. He's out. So I mean, the Saints are 3-5. They're in a little bit of a struggle. You got the Miami South Beach 49ers coming to town on December 4th. That'll be an interesting matchup because McDaniel versus Shanahan. Shanahan normally takes care of guys who have coached with him or guys who he coached with in the past. He usually handles them, but McDaniel's a different animal. He'll be coming in with Raheem Mostert, Tyreek Hill. That'll be an exciting matchup. Then the Buccaneers come to town, and so that's one that by then, who knows what the Bucs will be. They're 3-5. They play the Rams this week. Will they still be in playoff contention? Then the Thursday night matchup versus the Seahawks is going to be huge. December 15th. That's going to be a huge game for the 49ers. And we'll see what they're able to do. If they win that game, they're going to win the division. I'm going to say it. They win that game against the Seahawks, they win the division. And then they finish the season against the Commanders. Washington comes here. A short trip to Las Vegas to play the Raiders, who are 2-5. They could be completely checked out by then. And then you've got the game against the Cardinals that they're now listing as January 8th at 10 a.m. But we'll see where we're at with that one and if it gets moved. There were thoughts, between whether it was going to be Sunday or Saturday. It looks like it's going to be a Sunday matchup now. But I mean, the 49ers have a pretty favorable schedule. So I think we can be excited about, how that schedule is going to go here in the future. Let me see if I missed anything. Sorry, guys, I was gone for a little bit as far as looking at the questions that were coming through. What's up, Mr. Corey? Welcome to chat. Always good when I see Mr. Corey coming through. SG says the Chargers will also be without Joey Bosa, who is out 8 to 10 weeks with a groin injury. Yeah, that's still a big injury for them. David Campbell says they still need to beat the Cardinals, which they always have trouble doing. Yeah, I think that's the next big game. I know that this game versus the Chargers, I want the 49ers to win, but in the grand scheme of things, it's an AFC matchup. Just like the Chiefs, you want to win those games, but you want to win NFC matchups and NFC division matchup the most. So Cardinals value over Chargers, but if you can get a win against the Chargers, you don't have to go anywhere. You're at home. Then you have the short trip to Mexico City to play the Cardinals. You can win that and go 4-0 in your division. You're going to be 6-4 and feel like you have an absolute stranglehold on the NFC West. I think even though Seattle might even be ahead of you in the standings, with the fact that you have an early season win over them means you know that you go into that game and you win and you sweep them, and that's like having a 2-game advantage. So I think the 49ers are sitting in a good spot, and a lot of it's with how they've played in the division. And they need to continue that. You got to beat the Cardinals. David is completely right. But, that we're going to find out. That's going to be a fun game. I think Mexico City is going to be rocking for that one. I think the 49ers are going to be highly, have lots of fans in there as well. What's up, Nico? He says, Andre says hi and beat the Chargers. Hi, Andre. How's it going? Love Andre. Andre's the best. Beat the Chargers. Always got to beat the Chargers, right, Nico? For sure. And Mr. Corey says Shanahan hasn't handled former 49ers, DeForest Buckner, Dante Pettis, DJ Jones, K'Wan Williams, and Jerick McKinnon. You're naming players. I was talking about coaches that he's coached with before. He handles LaFleur. He handles McVay. You name them and he handles them. So coaching wise, he does against coaches. It's the players that he struggles with at times where it feels like. So remember that when we're talking about 49ers matching up against Mike McDaniel. It's kind of like Bill Belichick. Belichick usually does very good against former pupils of himself. So I think Kyle Shanahan can definitely win in these games. I think he can help, but I mean it's not going to be easy. Raheem Mostert's still a good running back. Jeff Wilson Jr. is going to be fired up for that game, and Tyreek Hill is just super fast. And now they added Bradley Chubb to go with Jalen Phillips. It's a dynamic Dolphins defense if they can play at a high level. But we'll see. We'll see how it goes. But overall, I think the 49ers have a chance. So SG says, hey, Ant, how are you? I'm doing good. I'm enjoying. I have a big birthday this weekend. I'm going to be having a birthday celebration over the weekend. I'm looking forward to it. Normally, birthdays don't mean a whole lot to me, but this is an important one for me because I'm turning 40. So I'm excited about it overall. I'm excited about getting older, I guess. I never thought I'd be happy to get to 40, but hey, why not, right? I'm enjoying life, and it's going to be a fun weekend. I'm looking forward to everything, and I'm thankful that the 49ers decided to have a bye because my birthday's actually on Sunday, so I don't really have to worry about it. When the schedule came out and there was a bye on my birthday, I'm like, hey, thanks. And thanks, Donald. Really appreciate it. It was like, that'll be nice. Alex, I kind of was hoping the bye was going to be on Alex's wedding, so I didn't miss anything. But hey, why not? You know what I mean? It's all good. Thank you so much, SG, as well. I really appreciate that. So now that we went through the schedule, guys, Bomber T, what's up? How's it going? Says always listening. Always good when Bomber T comes through. And David Campbell says, Ant will drink a 40 to celebrate a 40. I like that, David. Nice play on words. Very much enjoying. Yeah, it's gonna be a fun time. Gonna get to just live it up a little bit, enjoy it. It's gonna be fun. Thanks, Mr. Corey. Really appreciate it. Yes, I am a Scorpio. Mr. Corey coming with the knowledge. I don't know if a lot of people really think that's a good thing or a bad thing or not. But now that we've went through this schedule, though, I'm curious what everyone thinks. What is the most important game on the schedule for the 49ers? Is it that matchup against the Cardinals in Mexico City, or is it the matchup against the Seahawks on December 15th? I'm curious what everyone thinks about this game because overall, I think it's going to be, both games are going to be impressive, but who knows? And Sean, what is up, Sean? Aloha. How's it going? Jimmy G's birthday was yesterday. So yeah, me and Jimmy G are friends, I guess, with that. And what is up, Scott? Says happy birthday. Thank you, Scott. I really appreciate that. Yeah, I'm actually not a drinker. So I won't drink, but yeah, I'll still enjoy myself, right? And David doesn't drink. I think that's how it was. But it's fun, right? I mean, you still can have fun without it, I think. I am, right? D. Will says against Seattle. 49ers Faithful says Seattle in Seattle. And Sean says Seahawks and Cardinals. So you're kind of getting both of those. For sure. SG's wishing Jimmy G a birthday. Jag coming through with the super chat. So really appreciate Jag with a $2 super chat. Says, TCC, can we go 6-0 in the division, 9-8, and not make the playoffs? If they go 6-0 in the division, I believe they will win the division. I get what you're saying, Jag, but I think the 49ers can go 6-3 over the final remaining 9 games, get to 10-7 like they did last year, and still be able to make the playoffs and make a run at this thing. So I believe if they go 6-0 in the division, they are going to make the playoffs and they're going to win the division. So I like that. So I think that's what's going to happen. Mr. Corey says, no, it's the matchup against the Dolphins. They're the winning team coached by the man some folks are saying was the real brains behind Shanahan. Well, I think that Kyle Shanahan is going to be highly motivated to want to prove otherwise, Mr. Corey. But I think that is going to be a fun game, right? December 4th, the Dolphins come to Levi Stadium. They've got so much talent on offense. They've increased, the talent on defense with Bradley Chubb. I think it's going to be a great matchup. That might be the 49ers' toughest matchup remaining of the games that they have on the docket, because you have a Chargers team that's kind of limping in. The Cardinals always have late season problems. I mean, they do give the 49ers problems, but and then the Saints, they got the Red Rocket, but they're going to be without Michael Thomas. The Dolphins are the ones that are tough. Bucks, unless they get something turned around. Tom Brady is struggling a little bit without an offensive line that can block, which, any quarterback would struggle. So I think that the Cardinals matchups, both of them, the Dolphins and the Seahawks are the 4 remaining games that are probably the toughest for the 49ers. You got to think they could at least win one of those. So 6-3 is realistic. I think 6-3 coming through is realistic. Jess with the 49ers super chat says, happy birthday, coach. Thank you so much, Jess. Really appreciate that. Really appreciate that. And Gary saying 19 for 37. Step up, TCC. Hit that like button. Yes, please hit the like button. Really appreciate it. It goes to help the channel, helps the algorithm. So love it. SG says Warriors 30, Magic 30, tied at the end of the first. Got a little Warriors basketball going on in here. Sean says we cannot lose to ourselves. That's the key. It's about execution, Sean. They got to continue to execute. They did a very good job against the Rams. I thought that they executed at a high level in the entire second half. That was promising. I'm hoping they can build on that against the Chargers and keep this thing rolling, because if they start rolling and they're able to get this thing going, I don't know how many teams can stop them on offense with the amount of talent that they're going to have. It's going to be fun. And, one thing I want to present to everyone that's here in chat right now, would you sign Odell Beckham Jr.? Adam Schefter brought it up. Maybe the 49ers and Odell Beckham would have mutual interest. Would you guys go ahead and make that move, or is that someone you want to stay away from? I put it on the channel. It got a lot of reaction. A lot of people watched it, but I'm curious what everyone's opinion is on Odell Beckham, because it felt like it was going, each way. Like some people wanted him, some people didn't. Mr. Corey says, that's the reason I say it's the most important. All the reasons you just named. Well, good. Then we're on the same page. I like that. And Jag with a $2 super chat. Thanks so much, Jag. I really appreciate it. It says, TCC, happy birthday, young man. Enjoy your 40th. Thanks so much. I really appreciate that, Jag. I'm going to have a good time. I think it's going to be a fun weekend. And then, we'll enjoy it, and then we'll get right back to football next week. Why not, right? And SG says, I would sign Odell Beckham Jr. to the San Francisco 49ers. So SG's on board with it. Bomber T says, hell no. OBJ's knees are blown out. And that's what I love, right? Because I love bringing it up, because we can get both ends of the spectrum. SG's like, yeah, let's do it. Bring him in. And Bomber T's like, hell no. We don't want OBJ. I love it. And, that's the thing. If it's like Bomber T says, what are his knees like? Of course, he would have to come in and pass a physical for the 49ers. I think, me and Warren, it came out on, the Cover 2 episode that came out today. We had a conversation about it, and we didn't agree. He wouldn't sign OBJ, and I would. And the reason I would is OBJ's a guy that can win one-on-one. But I understand all the negatives about it, right? Well, he wouldn't fit in the locker room, potentially. We don't need him. Like, I understand what people are saying. I just looked at it as a wide receiver that could win one-on-one if you need it. If you have two guys, him and Brandon Ayuk, and then you have Kyle Shanahan's comments about Danny Gray this week, just wonder if there's an opportunity for a fifth receiver in the 49ers offense, because they keep needing to bring guys up, and Danny Gray's struggling to block. So, but I understand everyone's feelings on it, and I love it. Mr. Corey says, if we lose to the Dolphins, people will say we didn't beat anyone after getting crushed by Kansas City. I think you're probably right. I think you're probably right about that for sure. Mr. Corey says, I want no part of OBJ. Yeah, and Jess, of course, the whole weekend. It's a birthday weekend. Come on now. Gotta enjoy it. And SG says, I want a part of OBJ. I think it's fun that we're kind of got the back and forth. And then you had the Brandon Ayuk. Brandon Ayuk said, boo. I don't know if he meant like boo would be scary. Boo, I don't want OBJ. I thought it was an interesting take. It was on Halloween when he said it. Mr. Corey says, Brandon Ayuk is taking the next step. OBJ would get in the way. Ayuk, Debo, Kittle, and Jennings are enough. I think that's a fair point. And David Campbell says Danny is in a gray area. I like that. Danny Gray is suffering from Shanahan rookie wide receiver problems. This is just what happens. And sometimes it gets you your rookie, or sometimes it gets you your second year. Ask Dante Pettis. But Kyle Shanahan wants consistency with route running. He wants you to be able to block. He wants you to be able to run every route in the tree. And when you can't, you suffer the consequences. And I think that's what Danny Gray is going through. I do like that he's a rookie going through it, though, instead of Ayuk in his sophomore year or Dante Pettis in their sophomore year. Part of it, they had to count on Ayuk to make a lot of plays. He had to be out there and play a lot in 2020 with injuries to Deebo Samuel. And Dante Pettis played a lot in his rookie season as well. So they went through it in their sophomore year. Danny Gray's going through it right now. Traffic says Debo, Kittle, Ayuk, CMC, and OBJ sometimes open damn near every play. Someone's open damn near every play. You're right, Traffic. That's why it's kind of fun for me to think about. You know what I mean? Odell Beckham would, if he's healthy, that's the thing, right? It's all comes down to, is that knee healthy? It could potentially be another deep threat. So I'm with you, Traffic. And there's people that are on the other end of it, and that's okay as well. Let's see. Sean says, would you keep McGlinchey next year? What's his number going to be? You know what I mean? What's his salary cap number going to be? Where are you picking in the draft? Because right tackles are hard to come by that are, play at a decent rate. McGlinchey, I think, is a middle of the road right tackle in this league. And I think you got a situation where you don't pick in the top 100. So unless you have his replacement already in there, or you believe you can pick someone up in free agency, I think you're going to roll with Mike McGlinchey. I think he might end up coming back if they can get him for like $8 to $11 million. A subtle little small maybe raise in money, up to $11 million from what he's making this year. But I just don't know how many good right tackles you're going to be able to, to come by. And with them not picking high in the draft, are you going to be able to find someone that can take his spot? Would you be willing to roll with Daniel Brunskill as the right tackle next year? I think those are some big question marks. So I think right now I would lean towards keeping Mike McGlinchey, but that one's kind of tough, And they've made decisions on the offensive line. They've been willing to move off of certain players. Yeah. Eric Dane says, no OBJ. They need all the cap space they can get to re-sign Bosa. They do need cap space. If I told you, though, that they, because they say they have the money for Bosa. I don't know. But I get what you're saying. I agree with you, Eric Dane. They do need all that money. So if it's a thing where you need that money to get a Bosa, then yeah, no OBJ. I'm with you on that. And I think that's a fair point. So I've been talking about on the field stuff, but that one makes sense as well. And that's why I like having these conversations. So I think people point out different things and it makes you think, why not? I mean, I would probably still do it because I want to go all in and win a Super Bowl. And if I felt like OBJ was the guy that was going to put him over the top, I would. But if Kyle doesn't feel like he's the guy, then they definitely shouldn't do it. 49ers Fogey says it's a matter of money, Gary. Usually is, right? Usually leads to the money situation. Let's see. David or Donald says, I'm happy with Debo and BA. Yeah, the BA's playing really good. I've been happy with BA. It has nothing to do with BA. Really, it doesn't. What it has to do with the kind of those last guys, you know what I mean? Because Ray and Jimmy haven't been able to connect. But I do like Ray too. I'm hoping he's going to start having more offensive production in the next several weeks. Maybe he will with the addition of CMC. Mr. Corey says Jack Conklin will be a free agent. Mr. Corey, what do you think it's going to cost for Jack Conklin? I honestly don't know what his rate is going to be. Curious if it's going to cost a lot more than it would cost to get McGlinchey back. Of course, McGlinchey has been dealing with injuries over the last several years. But before that, he was an Iron Man. I mean, he didn't miss football games, especially in college. Bomber T says, no OBJ. He is a lamb at heart. Yeah, I mean, for that reason, right, you might not want him. Gary says there are worse right tackles than the Glinch in the league. That is 100% accurate, Gary. There are a lot of worse tackles in this league. I think, McGlinchey's done a pretty good job overall. You know what I mean? This year, he's had some glaring weaknesses, especially since the calf injury. Once he had the calf problem, I felt like he struggled a little bit in a couple of games. But, I mean, overall, there for a while, he had given up like 5 hurries. I mean, he was playing at a pretty high level. He hasn't been able to consistently get that. But, you know what I mean? It's like one of those things where he's done better than anticipated this year. He's definitely figured out what his playing weight should be because, I mean, he's kind of tried to do a couple of different things with his playing weight. There for a while, he was 320 pounds. Then he tried to, in 2020, to go down. He went down to 300 pounds, and he was too light, and he couldn't anchor, and everyone was blowing him up. So then last year, he went back to 320 pounds, and he got hurt. So this year, he's 310. He's right in the middle. And, let's look at his number. I mean, he's played 468 snaps this year. He has 4 penalties, not terrible. He's allowed 5 sacks. That's tied for third according to PFF. And he's got a 70.2 grade for PFF. So, I mean, he's pretty much an average right tackle in this league. And that's kind of where PFF sees him. Watching the film, that's where I see him. You know what I mean? I think he's a above average, actually a pretty good run blocker. And then I think in the pass blocking, he struggles a little bit. I think Christian McCaffrey is going to make things a little bit easier on Mike McGlinchey in the way that they go about it. So I think that's something to remember. And what's up, Ziggy? How's it going? Hope you're having a good one. Traffic says McGlinchey is actually solid in the run game. And now with CMC, it's hard to find someone you can fill to make that spot better overall. I'm with you, right? Because that's the thing. You have to find a better option than Mike McGlinchey. There's no one you're going to find this year for sure. Could you get someone next year? Maybe. Mr. Corey brought up Jack Conklin. So I don't know. And that's what Mr. Corey says here. Of course, it'll cost more for Conklin than McGlinchey, the former 2-time first All-Pro or first team All-Pro. Yeah, so what's it going to cost and what are the thought processes on it? We know how Kyle values his offensive line, right? Left tackle is the most valuable to Kyle Shanahan. Then right tackle. So, I mean, if that's going to be the going rate, he could definitely do that. He could go Conklin. I think he loves the way McGlinchey blocks in the run game. So as long as they felt he was healthy, I think they would do that. So Eric Dane says it's a weird year. It is. It definitely is. And what's up, John? How's it going? John Berg says Ayuk should be wide receiver 1 and Debo should be wide receiver 2 with Kittle, Mitchell, and McCaffrey. The passing game and running game should dominate, assuming Shanahan calls good plays and Jimmy can execute. It comes down to execution. You're right, John. I think Ayuk right now is the number 1 X receiver, and I think moving Debo around is important. I don't think Kyle looks at these wide receivers as, oh, you're wide receiver 1, you're wide receiver 2. I don't think he has like a hierarchy like that. I think it's more about getting these guys in certain situations. Whichever way he can do it is important. So I think that's where he's going with, those guys. But Ayuk is doing a very good job, and he's made some very pivotal catches. He's been able to create separation and one-on-one. The Rams came out with Jalen Ramsey pretty much one-on-one locked on him. He was still able to make plays. So yeah, I'm pretty excited about Brandon Ayuk and where he's going. And I think they have a pretty good wide receiver room. I'm just gonna be honest. I want all the good players. So there you go. Eric Dane says it's a weird year to go all in. The NFC is winnable, but you're probably going to be playing the Bills and Chiefs in the Super Bowl. You're right, but that's it, right? You only have to win that one game. I know you have to win and get there. The NFC is winnable. So getting yourself to the Super Bowl, you don't have to be the best team. You just have to play the best that day. Matchups create, opportunities. So who are you going to play? Will it be the Bills and Chiefs? You have an opportunity to beat either one of those teams. I know the Chiefs came in and mollywopped the 49ers. They did. I'm not saying they didn't, but you're looking for that opportunity, and it's hard to beat a team twice in one season. And the 49ers, go in there. It might not be the Bills or Chiefs. The way things have happened, you never know who you're going to play against. When Harbaugh and the 49ers got to the Super Bowl in 2012, it probably wasn't supposed to be Baltimore. In fact, I know it wasn't. They upset Denver. So things happen, right? The New York Giants make it to the Super Bowl and beat the Patriots. Things happen. You just want to give yourself the opportunity to do so. David Campbell says, aside from last year's injury, McGlinch always seems to answer the bell. Yeah, I've always been kind of a fan of McGlinchey's, especially in the run blocking. I think he's spectacular in run blocking, so I'm with you. Eric Dane says, I don't know if OBJ makes a difference over the Bills or Chiefs. It all depends on if he makes a difference in the offense, scoring 30 points. You got to be able to compete with those teams offensively, all the while stopping them on defense. Is it easy? No. And I mean, is he going to be the exact reason why? Maybe not. I think that's for sure. And then Jag with a $2 super chat says, must pressure Herbert, pass yards 2009, run 622. Yeah, you've got to put pressure on Herbert, and you got to keep him in the pocket, which isn't easy. I mean, he's still a pretty athletic quarterback, so he can create with his legs, he can extend plays, and he has an absolute cannon. So I'm with you. Locating him, keeping your rush, the pass rush lane integrity is going to be important. So, I mean, it's not an easy proposition at all. And Ziggy says, did we talk about Burford yet? And Kittle not having a good blocking game? No, we didn't. We didn't talk about Burford. Burford got a very terrible rate, from PFF. I think that those are going to come. Those are going to happen, especially when you play teams that have like Aaron Donald. Burford is still learning, and that's part of the reason they have Daniel Brunskill. He can go in there, and Brunskill did a pretty good job. There were some plays that Burford struggled, and I think that those guys got to get better. And I think that's one thing Kittle talked about in the CMC touchdown run. He said pretty much we all missed our assignments. So yeah, they've got to continue to get better. The good news is they overcame those, but execution in the run game, execution in the pass game have been the problem for the 49ers. And their Achilles heel in this 2022 season. Getting those guys together, I think, is going to be the most important. So I'm loving it so far. Mr. Corey says, if not Conklin, if I were the Brunskill right tackle in 2023, he did fine in there in 2019. He did a good job in 2019 filling in, and even better than Justin Skule. Bomber T says, we can beat the Chiefs or Bills at 100% healthy, and at least you have the opportunity to do so, right? That's the thing. You just want that chance. You want that opportunity to do so. John Berg says next year in the draft, the offensive line needs to be addressed more than any other position. McGlinchey has been okay throughout his career, but he's underperformed on too many occasions. The question is, where are they going to go, right? They're going to have 2 third-round picks. They're compensatory picks, so they're going to be probably outside of the top 100. Then you have 3 fifth-round picks. Then you have 1 6 and 3 7s. Now, could you maneuver a little bit and get up into the top 100? Yeah, you can. Who are going to be those starting caliber players for the offensive line that you're going to get? Do they maybe already have some of those guys? Nick Zakelj, Spencer Burford, Daniel Brunskill, guys they've invested in, Colton McKivitz. Could those be the starting guys? I wonder, because I don't know if we're going to be able to get a starting offensive lineman in those later rounds. So if, John, you're saying address it with guys you can continue to develop, I think that is probable. If it's guys that can step in and start day one, there's not very many Spencer Burfords out there. And the 49ers kind of go with a red shirt style system, especially with the offensive line. I think that's what Nick Zakelj and Jason Poe are involved in right now. So I get what you're saying for sure. They definitely need to continue to address it. I just don't think they're going to be able to address it in early rounds until the next year in 2024, when they could go out and actually grab somebody in that spot. Mr. Course says the putrid 97 Giants got high at the right time in 2011. They did. And that's unfortunate. That really is. But that's how football works. It clicks at the right time. You get it going, and you make something happen. So it's kind of the way it rolls with a lot of this. Because, of course, we had a 10-point fourth-quarter lead and a better Chiefs team in the Super Bowl before Kyle stopped running the ball. We'll be fine against them healthy. I think I want to see that matchup. You know what I mean? I mean, do I want to see the Chiefs? No. But I want to see the 49ers in the Super Bowl, no matter who they play. Let's get it. And you see a NFC and an NFC West. Overall, the landscape looks good for the 49ers and their chances to go ahead and get to the Super Bowl. Why not, right? Give yourself an opportunity. That's all you want to do, is give yourself an opportunity to win. You don't have to be the best team that wins there. You just have to be playing the best that day. And I think the 49ers have a really good roster, and they could be playing the best at that time. Eric Dane says, Ant, do you know if there's a deadline to sign OBJ, or could they just sign him like week 17 for the playoffs? I know there's a trade deadline, but not sure about free agent deadline. Yeah, you could wait. I mean, you could just sign him at the end of the season. I think he's going to be willing to come back here in the next month or so because he's coming off the ACL that he suffered in the playoffs last year. So usually you want to wait around 9 months. It'll be a little bit over 9. I think he's going to be ready to come, but you're right. You can just wait until the end. And it's really, really cool to see that happen. And thank you so much, Lalo Martinez, for becoming a channel member. Really, really appreciate that. It's big time. And, that's the thing is it's like, that's part of the reason that a guy like Odell Beckham or Ndamukong Suh are enticing to the 49ers because you don't have to give up any draft capital for them. You just have to make sure you have room on your roster for them. That's what's important. So I think that's why those guys make sense. So we'll see. We'll see. And Donald says, Ant, how do you think the Niners will use CMC next week? What his usage will be? I think that they're going to use him in a variety of different ways. I think what they're going to continue to do is split him out in wide receiver roles, leave him in the backfield, motion him out. What I'm curious to see is how they play him off of Debo, because you're going to get these defenses into some personnel groupings that aren't going to feel comfortable for them. What you want to get is the matchup of Christian McCaffrey on a linebacker. If you can get that, he's going to win all the time. Let's see what the Chargers do if they try to go with a safety on McCaffrey. Even then, that could be a mismatch. So I think it's going to be very difficult, for them to be able to use him. But I think CMC is still going to get 20 touches. I think it's going to be a variety of different ways. I think you're probably going to see 12 or 13. I'm going to say 12 runs, probably 8, receptions. And then to get Elijah Mitchell, 5 to 8 touches as well. I think that's kind of the best way to go. But I think the more exotic looks are coming from Kyle Shanahan when you get Deebo Samuel and CMC out there together. Mr. Course says, and I was really hoping for Stephon Gilmore. I was too. I was hoping they were going to make a move. Now I'm just hoping that Jason Verrett is more healthy than we anticipate, and he's going to be able to get out there. Because, I am worried about that cornerback spot opposite of Tarvarius Ward. With Mosley, I had no worries. If Jason Verrett's healthy, I have no worries. But I don't know what Jason Verrett's status is. Only that he's been activated to the 53. But we'll see. We're going to see. Donald says, how will the Niners use CMC next week? Okay, that's what we answered. Travis says, don't forget to, if you don't sign OBJ, other contenders will. There's a good chance you're going to see him. That's the truth. He could potentially end up on a team like Kansas City or Dallas, who missed out on Brandon Cooks, or Green Bay. Teams that are that are out there that could potentially want him. So yeah, I think if the 49ers if Danny Gray was playing, to the levels that I anticipated coming out of the draft, and he was making big plays for the Niners, and Kyle Shanahan was comfortable with him, I wouldn't even be bringing up OBJ because I'd feel strong about those 5 guys. But I think I'd feel a little bit better if OBJ was our third wide receiver and Jawan Jennings and Ray McLeod were 4 and 5. I'm just one of those embarrassment of riches. Sounds good to me. But I understand for the people that don't want that to happen too. It makes sense. And if he is going to be a problem in the locker room, then I don't want it. I just don't think he will be, for the mere fact that look how strong this locker room is with, leaders like Trent Williams and Deebo Samuel and Nick Bosa and Eric Armstead and Fred Warner. Strong leadership groups, right? This is like one of those things where, personality-wise, Deion Sanders comes in and he's different, but you have the leaders around that can help handle it. I think that's kind of what you're remembering and thinking. Bobo says, if Seattle can blow out the Chargers, so can we. Bobo says, it annoys me that Seattle is still in first place. I'm with you. I think the 49ers can win this game. I think it's a winnable game. I think they can go out there and execute at a high level. And Donald says, Ant, I don't think Kyle really likes to play rookies. I don't think so either. And I think it's especially heightened at the wide receiver position. He is hypercritical of wide receivers in this league. And I think a lot of it's because of how much time he paid attention to it. I think he's a wide receiver mindset wise. And I think he wants those guys to play at a high level, and he knows what it's going to take. I think he also knows that, they can be great. He told Brandon Ayuk that Ayuk had never been coached right at the position. Pretty intense, right? But it's true. It's pretty good. David Kim says, I'm not counting on Verrett at all. Even healthy, he most likely will be a shadow of his former self. I think that's fair. I'm not counting on him either. I'm hoping, though. I'm not going to lie. I'm hoping. I really am. Mr. Gore says, even if nobody got injured on defense, we couldn't lose either corner. That changes the entire defense. People just want to throw at Mooney when healthy. Yeah, we won't. That's the thing. Yeah, it does make it difficult, Mr. Corey. With Emmanuel Mosley, this defense was elite, you know what I mean? And without him, it's a little bit more difficult. Eric Dane says it's pretty crazy. The CMC had a rushing, receiving, and passing TD in the same game, and they can still come up with even more exotic looks. I think that's exactly it, Eric. It's going to be a lot of fun over the next several weeks. Kyle's going to be figuring this thing out. He's going to be putting guys in big situations to make plays. And only more coming from CMC, from Deebo Samuel. Once you have those guys with a full playbook out there, it's going to be great. So I'm looking forward to it. But guys, I'm going to go ahead and check out now. I've been on for a little over an hour. Really appreciate everyone for coming through. It was fun, TCC. You guys are great. You guys drove the conversation today. It was a lot of fun. Thanks so much for all the birthday wishes. I hope you guys all have a good weekend. Enjoy watching NFL football without pressure. And then next week, back to 49ers, and it'll be 49ers versus Chargers. Hope you guys all have a great weekend. Enjoy the Thursday night football game tonight. But until then, stay safe and remember the right way is always the 49ers way.